Hello everyone, how good of you to join and welcome to another video of Age of Empires 4. This time though we are not fighting an opponent, this time we are focusing purely on the city building aspect. Now this game, of course, as you know, is also having a beautiful city mechanic behind it, and I've also got a lot of requests that I should show the buildings for each one of these civilizations as well. The matches that we had so far usually take around, I guess, around 20 to 30 minutes. This time though it's a bit different. This time I want to show you all the buildings, all the attacks, all the units that one of these civilization has, with the focus on the English. For starters, we're building now the first building that we usually build. That's the house over here. This is the first one. And also a gold mine on the other side. Now they're usually the same for every civilization. Houses, gold mines, they of course look a bit different to their architecture. The one really cool thing about the building menu is that it's divided into all the ages. We're starting out, of course, in the first age, pre-feudal, I would like to call it, because there's no other name for it, I guess. And well, we are starting the economy here. As we can see, the windmill is our next building here to get my villagers over there for the food production. As I can see, my housing limit is getting a bit there tight again, so we are building the next house here. One thing that I also really like about the city building of this game is that it automatically and dynamically adjusts the streets and fields around each building, so that it really looks like a medieval town after a bit of time. Now, once we have 400 food and 200 gold, we can decide between the first landmarks. Every civilization has special landmarks, and we always need to decide between one of them, the Council Hall or the Abbey of Kings. The Council Hall produces longbowmen at 100% speed from the landmark, so as we're playing with the English, and they have the longbow special unit that is really strong. This is a perfect choice really for beginning, because we can just mass produce and spam longbowman. The other one, the Abbey of the Kings, heals all nearby friendly units that are out of combat by +4 every 1.5 seconds. It's pretty good, I guess, to move units back that are damaged, but it would require a lot of micromanagement later on. Let's go with our first wonder, and that is this special building here, the Council Hall. And yeah, let's have this one here in the center, just across the the town center that we have. So our first one, and with that we can then finally advance to the Feudal Age. Also up here we find some hunting grounds, so it might be very well advised to also build a mill here. Some hunters can then produce or well hunt down the deer here. Another cool feature is that if I just click it on the mill, for example, every new villager that comes out now is going to the mill and then getting to the next food source. So I don't need to click on the berries there or on the sheepies directly or on the hunting up here. I can just assign them and they are going hunting automatically. Now, after a bit of time, the Council Hall is about to be finished, and with that we're entering now the next era, the Feudal Age. There it is. And with the Feudal Age, well, a couple of more things are becoming available now, as we can see here. So we've already built now the economy buildings here, the basic ones. I'm also building a lumber camp right now. Next on my list would be the barracks, to also train some basic military units that we can now have over there. Bear in mind, you can just place these buildings right next to each other. The units can go between those, so placement is not really the most important thing anymore. If you just stack them together, all of them, units can still move beside them. They're still going through them, regardless of how much space there really is. Now with the Council Hall as our very first special building here, we can also see the longbowman, the cheap long-ranged infantry with good damage versus unarmored targets. So for example, the man at arms from the Holy Roman Empire is not so effective anymore. Then we got the upgrades. For each one of these units we got 2 upgrades after the next era, the Castle Age them, that we can upgrade them to become stronger. Very much advised to. We also can set up a camp. Longbowman gain the ability to set up camp, which heals them for +1 health every 1 second. Really cool stuff, especially if you're far away from your town center. You can just spam these camps and well heal those units. Also the arrow volley, longbowman gain arrow volley, an activated ability that increases longbowman attack speed by 70%. Now, as we can see, also our units get special abilities that we can then activate, similar to Warcraft 3, for example. This is a really cool feature, I think. We've also built the barracks, the next military building here. This one has the hardened spearman, so this one is best used against mounted units. And we also got the vanguard man-at-arms, so tough infantry with good damage, kind of like the tanks, high armor and slow movement. Both of them once again have their required upgrades then that we can have, and also the armored clad here is a special technology. increased the ranged and melee armor of men-at-arms by +2. So this is special for the English. So in general, we have the normal upgrades right next to the units and the special technology at the third row that is, well, unique to those, to the civilization that we're playing right now. So for the longbowman, the English, we have the camp and we have the arrow volley, the AoE attack, and for the men-at-arms, we do have the special armor increase here by +2 for these units. Really powerful. So what we could have here, for example, is we could have, let's say, some men-at-arms as tanks, and together with them paired with the longbowmen, so that we do have a really special, strong regiment. Now, every civilization and every big city does require a blacksmith, so let's just build as a blacksmith over there, and beside it then probably also a market in the town center. While we build those houses, it's also worth it to look at the economy upgrades that we have in the Feudal Age. So for the mining camp, that also goes for the stone and gold, we have the specialized pick that allows us to upgrade every village's capacity for gold and stone gathering rate by 15%, which is really powerful. This is something, as once I reach the Feudal Age, I always try to reach that as quickly as possible. For food, we have several options. We have, for example, right now a hunting mill. We have a mill that has fields and berry bushes, and each one of these tags here is regarding those gathering rates. For example, for the hunting, we have the survival techniques. This is the same for every civilization here. Increases the village's hunted meat carry capacity by +15 and the gather rate by +10%. The same goes with scouts, gain the ability to carry animal carcasses and deal 200% damage against wild animals. So scouts can hunt and bring those hunted animals back. We got the wheelbarrow, so this increases the carry capacity for villages by +5 and the movement speed by 15%. Really nice tag there. And then we got the horticulture, increases the village's gathering rate for food by 15%. This goes for all food sources, for berry bushes, fields, and for hunting. And once again, we also have a special ability for the English there. Each farm enclosure being worked by a villager generates +1 gold every 3.5 seconds. Really nice tag here. Is available in the Imperial Age and the last age. So that is pretty important once our gold mines are running out, that we have something to generate gold, and we basically have here a farm that generates then gold. As the villager grows, we have a market and a blacksmith available. The blacksmith has the researcher's tax for, improving every infantry and siege unit that we have in the game. This is the same for every civilization, so there's nothing special about this one here. And on the other hand, well, let's just have a look at that. Bloomery increases the melee damage and increases the armor of melee units. This one increases the range damage and the armor of ranged units. And this one here increases the training time, so it reduces actually the training time that it takes to produce infantry and siege units by 25%, and the siege engineering, melee and ranged infantry can construct siege towers and battering rams. This is a really cool tag, so your infantry can go out there, construct some rams, and well, basically have a siege tactic or siege units available right in the city without actually training them. Now, as we can see, the berry bushes are gone, so we are now going to produce or craft or, well, construct some farms here as well that we can have. Now I'm building the next military buildings that we have, the archery range and the stable. So once again, we do have now the longbowman that we can already produce. Next to it, we have the crossbowman, so this is the same for every civilization again. And then we got the hand cannoneer in the Imperial Age, high damage, high cost and slow movement, but well, a lot of damage. Basically a glass cannon. The crossbowman, very good against armored units. So if you have, for example, the Holy Roman Empire as your enemy, and you have the men-at-arms that they're being spammed, then you can have the crossbowman to counter that quite effectively. You also got their respective upgrades again, and down here we got once again the special abilities for the English. That's the camp, and that's the arrow volley for the longbowman. Next to it, we have the stables. There is nothing special about the English with the stables here. We got the horseman, the knight, and the scout. So this is also the same for every civilization. And here we got their respective upgrades then to the elite level that deals a bit more damage. If you want to go for one of these horses, then it's probably best to have the knight. Heavy armor, strong in melee combat, but is countered by spearmen and crossbowmen. We also have now our very special units here, the longbowmen, as we can see, and we have the men-at-arms. So those are the tanks in the front that we can then also upgrade, and they're changing their appearance. Also one hardened spearman, just in case there is a horsey running around. Now with the market, we have another building that is the same for every civilization, and here we can train the traders. We can also sell and buy resources, but the trader is pretty good because it generates gold, and you always want to have an additional gold source. Now for the trader, however, we do need a market. Lucky, our scout up here is finding us a market right now. Let's put it to the waypoint and let's train some, 3 traders. They're going now back and forth between our town center and the market and generate gold each time they turn around. Now we should probably be careful to have this in a safe passage here, so I definitely do need to watch out where this route is going. This is going to the corner, so there's probably not going to be any intervention from the enemy. It is time to advance to the next era, to the castle age that we have then. For that, once again, we can decide between 2 wonders. The White Tower acts as a keep with all the behaviors, technology and bonuses, or the King's Palace acts as a town center with all the behaviors, technology, units and bonuses. In this case here, I would like to go with the town center, though the keep is pretty powerful as well. With the town center for expansion, so we could have this one right over here. There's another gold mine and some foresty area, plus also space. So here I would like to have my second town center. For tax in the town center, we still have the textiles, increases the village's health by 25. That is actually not so bad. If we have some spare time in between, we can research that so my villagers don't die so quickly. After a bit of time, we have finished the King's Palace, and with that we have reached the Castle Age. So once again, our architecture is changing a bit, as we can see, as our main city is growing there in size now. We got some very beautiful buildings here in the center. Our economy is thriving. We got 3 mills now, all of them working the fields. Lots of lumber mills here producing us some logs, and the gold is also flowing thanks to the trade routes that we have now established with our traders. Our next building in the Castle Age is now the monastery. The monastery is pretty important because we can produce monks with that and get the relics that are on the side. Also, we can produce, well, units that heal my units. That's pretty useful in battle too. Let's build it. And there it is finished. As we can see, once again, we're getting some monastery gardens right next to it as well. There's also a main street forming here in the city center. Now, in the monastery itself, we have no special tag for the English. We only have the standard tags available. Here is the monk as our very first unit out of it. The monk has the upgrade of the herbal medicine, increases the healing rate of religious units by 100%, costs me 350 gold. We also have in the Imperial Age, the piety increases the health of religious units themselves, and also relics placed in a monastery provide an income of 30 food, wood and stone every minute. So not only gold anymore, really powerful for the late game if you are still living and your enemy is living too. Very important tax here to provide you permanent bonuses. As the last building for military units, we have the siege workshops. Let's build 2 of them over here, right next to my stable and archery. And while we are at it, let's also upgrade our units here to their next level, to veteran level, for both of my spearmen and men-at-arms. I'm also upgrading my longbowman, and we are also upgrading our riders, our horsemen, to veteran units. They're going to change. We also have the knight as our special unit now for the Castle Age, and the crossbowman for heavy armored units. Something to note, with the Castle Age, we do get some further tag for feudalization. We can also see how many steps for each tag there are, or how many upgrades. And as we can see, there are 3 upgrades for feudalization. So once again, we can do this to further increase the gathering rate of food by 15%. The same thing applies to the lumber mill here with lumber preservation, tag 203, that we can also research now. And it also applies for our gold producing. Over here, the acid distillation increases villager gathering rate by another 15%. Meanwhile, our monk has found one of these relics here. It's pretty important to get them as early as possible before the enemy does. And let's get this one back and click on the monastery and place it inside of it. There is our monk, delivering now our first relic, placing it inside. We can have 20 relics in a monastery, and as we can see, we're producing now 100 gold per minute out of this single relic. Of course, this stacks, so if I get a second relic, over here for example, I would produce 200 gold. And with the Imperial Age, I could also at the same time produce wood, stone and food out of it. We're now also producing our very first siege unit, so there we have 3 of them available. The first one that we have available is the mangonel. This one here, it is very strong against units, so groups of units. Not really strong for attacking buildings and stuff like that. Must be set up before it can fire. We got the springles. This one over there, this one is long range bonus damage versus other siege engines. It doesn't need to be set up. That is also pretty good. Fires quickly after being set up, so that's that. And then of course we got the trebuchet, the best siege build or siege unit there is available in the Castle Age. Bonus damage versus buildings, so very powerful to take down walls must be set up before firing. Is very inaccurate against other units. They have their respective upgrades there. In the Imperial Age, increases the weapon range, reduces the loading time, and increases the movement speed of these units. Now, at the outer skirts of our village, which is looking just very beautiful, we're building a tower now over here to secure our village, right? So we're going to build some 3 towers here. While my other villagers now built the last landmark that will advance us to the Imperial Age. We got the Berkshire Palace and the Wingard Palace available as the English. The Berkshire Palace acts as a keep with all the behaviors, technologies and bonuses, so another keep building, and the Wingard Palace produces us the Wingard Army. Each army consists of a man-at-arms, spearman, longbowman, knight and trebuchet, so we can spam units or armies that are almost completed. So let's just get this one right here in the city center as the beautiful landmark for our city. We've built the outpost towers at the edge of the village. Each one of these towers also has respective upgrades. The arrow slit adds defensive arrow slits to the structure. Only one weapon emplacement can be added. Then we have the springled emplacement, adds a defensive springled emplacement to the structure that is very effective against, well, siege units. And then we got the cannon emplacement, defensive cannon, very important or powerful against armored units. We also got the fortify outpost that adds another 1000 health and fire armor to this outpost. Bear in mind, these don't fire until you have one of these weapon emplacements intact, or until you, well, position or station some units inside. Other than that, they cannot fire. Once fortified, as we can see, they also change their appearance once again to a stone tower, and the arrow slits are being right now implemented here. And here we're implementing the springled emplacement. They also add some minor decorations at the outside. Now there's also the keep, the normal keep that we already know. It can train some very specialized units, also veteran units. It's also a heavy garrison that is also doing a lot of damage against enemy AI. And it's kind of like an outpost that we can place where it is important. For example, outside here of my town, we can build one of these keeps to produce units there itself and also act as a defensive structure right away. Now we finally built our palace and are thus now in the Imperial Age. Here we have the Wingard Army that costs 100 food, 100 wood, 200 gold, and is producing quite a lot of units at the same time. But of course, also training time is quite long. Let's train a few of them and just look at how they look. At the same time, we have also unlocked now the last buildings here. The first one is the university. Let's place this one right here in the center as well. By the way, we got now 2 relics. We can also see up here that we produce these, or that we have 2 relics in there, and we can also see how much it's producing us. We might also now have the tithe barns for these relics. Let's research this one, this tag here, and at the same time increase healing and health of my monks that we have. With the Imperial Age, it's pretty important to also use the Imperial upgrades. So for the mill, we do have the last tech of the precision cross breeding. Once again, another gathering rate of 15% for each villager. And at the same time, enclosure, each farm enclosure being worked by a villager generates 1 gold every 3.5 seconds, which is just really good, especially now in the late age where the gold deposits, as we can see here, are running out, right? So farms are being more important now as they also produce some gold for us. It is time to have a quick look at the university. Here we have now the advanced text that we can research. Elite Army Tactics increases the health of all melee infantry by plus 10% and their damage by plus 10%. The chemistry increases the damage of gunpowder units by 20%. The incendiary arrows increases the damage of ranged units and buildings by plus 20%, but does not apply to gunpowder. The court architects increases the health of all buildings by 30%. Really good stuff. We have the biology increases the health of all cavalry by 20%, and geometry increases the damage of rams and trebuchets by 30%. Once again, with the Imperial Age, we could now upgrade all our units to the highest, the elite level for these units. Also, we can do the armored clad now. The special technology for the English increases the ranged and melee armor of men-at-arms by another 2, so they become even stronger tanks. We do also have the possibility of elite upgrade for the longbowman and crossbowman, and we do have the elite upgrade for my horses. Another nice detail is that there are fences now around the farms in the Imperial Age. I love how many details are being added, and as we can see, also more streets and bushes and stuff like that appears. Even smaller parks like this one here. For the military units, we still have the Bombard, intimidating siege gun, excellent against buildings or any stubborn targets. High damage must be set up to fire, and the Rebaldekin, 5-barreled gunpowder weapon effective against massed units, deals little damage to buildings. It can help hit multiple targets at once. We also still have one special technology for the English, that is the shattering projectiles. Trebuchet projectiles shatter on impact, increasing their area of effect. As our city is growing, there's still one more building that's missing, and it's probably one of the most important ones. It's our wonder. So you can have a wonder at the end, build a wonder. It's not to be, misplaced with the landmarks that we're building to advance the era. There is a victory condition to destroy all the landmarks that the enemy has. There is a victory condition that to have control all the sacred sites, but there's also the victory condition of finishing a wonder. For the English, it's the Cathedral of St. Thomas. Build and defend a wonder to secure victory. Rival civilizations will be aware of its construction and seek to destroy it. So you should have this wonder as deep into your city as possible, as heavily fortified. Once it finishes, you win the game. Let's build us the wonder to finish our city. By now, we've also built all the important military units for the English: the elite knight, the elite man-at-arms, the hand cannoneer, the elite crossbowman, elite horseman, the spearman, the longbowman with its special ability now to also have the arrow volley that it can then have upon the enemy. We have the bombard unit, we have the trebuchet, especially useful against the buildings, and we have the springald and the rebaldequin for the, well, battle on the battlefield then, or on the fighting on the battlefield, that is. This is also how basically an endgame city then looks like. You have the farms that produce you the food and the gold. You have your relics that produce you some wood, gold and stone and food. You have your lumberjack huts, of course, still to produce you some wood, but that's about it. You of course want to fortify this still with some walls. There we have, for example, a stone wall. The cool thing about them is that you can station archers on top of them. For this, however, we still need the stone wall tower. There we have it. Heavy defensive tower must be built on a stone wall segment. Infantry can use the tower to access the top of the wall. So let's just place this one here as a defensive structure. We could then also have some stone tower gates here as well in our wall. Once that tower is placed, units will automatically walk up here to secure the walls. There we have a bit of defense, at least for the city. Now, after quite a bit of time, we're finishing that wonder. Of course, it needs a lot of time because the enemy needs to react to it. Build a wonder, it gets some nice guards there as well in the background. And with that, we would win the game now if we could hold this wonder there for another 10 minutes. So this is a viable strategy, if not a bit long. You can build up a full city with the wonder and win a game as well, as long as you can defend yourself. For that, I recommend you building some big walls and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek about the English civilization, all the buildings that are available, with the exception of the docks. I didn't build that now, but it's for the water. And yeah, also all the land units that we have. Stay tuned.